Okay. Hi. Let's see if audio and everything is good. Okay. There we go. Hi, y'all. It's your girl, Narise, back with another live stream. And for those who are probably on here because of my post on TikTok, if you're not following me on TikTok, you should. I have two TikTok accounts. I have one for my music and then one where I'm just talking pop culture and giving my perspective and opinions. And on that TikTok account, I did mention certain points about this list, like some posts, but I didn't really get into details. And I was like, should I just like break it all the way down and just give all my opinions? Why not? And I figured the best way to do that for long form would be live stream. And then, we'll chop some of it up and then put it on TikTok. So, um, so yeah, that's what we're gonna do right here, right now, today. And then we might have some other live streams. I'll just kind of like before I jump into it, I'll just give you guys a brief update on what I've been doing because I'm gonna try to figure out what kind of like schedule I'm gonna do with live streams so you guys can know when to expect me to live stream and then what we're gonna do on here. So, but what you can expect coming up soon is another vocal arrangement breakdown because I'm actually working on another cover. I know the last cover I didn't put out. Well, we're working on it. It'll come out when it comes out, but you got to see the behind the scenes of me working on the vocals. Sorry, I'm like my hair is not behaving. But yeah, you got to see me arrange vocals and work on harmonies and stuff like that. And so we're gonna do that again. I did a mashup of Willow Smith and Tyler Cole, aka The Anxieties, Meet Me at Our Spot, and SZA Snooze. And yeah, it was fun. I kind of I've had that idea for a while and I've been wanting to do it like months ago, but here we are, it's done. Well, the audio and visual aspect of it. So then now we're gonna add harmonies and stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that live stream. I might end up doing that soon. I won't let you all know until I'm for sure. But yeah, so that was fun. I worked on that last night actually, because I just wanted to get back into being creative, and although I've been posting more on TikTok and on social media, I do want to still do like my more like creative projects where I'm doing like visuals and there's more intention and effort put into the audio, like recording on the mic and building the harmonies and stuff like that. And I mean, I do every now and then I might just like post something up on social media just to have it there. But then I do want to challenge myself and keep sharpening my blade in terms of my visual production and artistry in that way. And I figure we can just try that out with covers for now until I'm in a better space to create my own music, which I'm very much looking forward to doing because I'm ready for new songs. Like Divine is cute. For those who don't know, I have an EP called Divine that's on all streaming platforms, and you can stream and also purchase on my website, which is a little bit down at the moment, but if there's a purchase waiting, then we'll figure it out. We'll get it back up. But yeah, so I have an EP called Divine, and those songs are cool or whatever. But I'm ready for like. There's so much more I want to say. There's so much more. I mean, of course, like expressing your feelings and love is important and all those things, but there's so much more that I want to express in my music that I feel like is more meaningful and more important, and then also more fun. Just more like songs to have fun to. So, I eventually do want to get into a space where I can work on that. But for now, we'll have fun with the covers. And yes, I know I did another scissor cover. I mean, well, what you want me to do? She makes great songs, and not only that, but songs that are well within my range and, sonically adjacent to like my musical vibe. So, she has the best songs. So, it is what it is. But so yeah, so far we have Sweet Life by Frank Ocean and Snooze at Our Spot, which is a Willow Smith slash Tyler Cole slash The Anxiety slash Scissor cover. And yeah, we're gonna work on that eventually. So, I don't wanna get too much into, you know, talking. I just want to, just give y'all all an update on the creative side of things. And of course, oh yeah, now that I remembered to say at the beginning of the video, if you enjoy the vibes, if you've been following me for a while, and you're just kind of like, testing the waters or whatever, or you might have saw my content on social media, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe respectfully, because tolerating disrespect, absolutely not. We will not be doing that over here. This is a space of love. This is a space of freedom, and I want people to feel free to express their opinions as long as you're respectful, and we don't always have to agree, because I know when it comes to lists like this with the 100 best albums, you're always going to have debates. Nobody's ever going to be satisfied with any list. I feel like, for especially when like Rolling Stone do those lists, there's always room for debate. There's always going to be somebody like, oh, this album should have been over here, why is this album so far behind, this album's too far ahead. Like, I feel like there's never a moment where people are completely satisfied with where the songs or the albums are on the list. So I already expected that when this list came out. So I wasn't really like too bent out of shape about it. I was just like, whatever, okay. I just want to see what's on here, and I'll probably debate little stuff like, I probably would have preferred this album over this. But you know, I'm open minded in that way, because I already know when it comes to lists like this. And even from the post that I did on TikTok, I know people were like, oh, this shouldn't have been number one. Why is this that? And nah, it should have been this album, or no, this album deserved to be there. So, I mean, I'm here for those debates, especially when it comes to music, because your girl loves music. Have my instruments in the background, my we do this music thing. That's what we're here for. So, with that said, and without further ado, let's get into the breakdowns. So, I have the list up here. And no, we're all the way at the top of the list. All right, so let's start from 100, and then I'm okay. Just to let y'all know, hold on, before we, just to be clear, I have not listened to every single album. And some of the albums I'm familiar with, but I might not have listened to the full album in itself. This is purely me expressing my opinions based on the music that I'm familiar with, based on the artists, knowing some of the artists and being familiar with their music and their sound, and maybe being more familiar with their discography. Some I'm more familiar with, like even looking at what we have now, like Rage Against the Machine. I'm familiar with a majority of their discography, and someone like, all right, so let's just pull it up now. Actually, I should have just left it on there. Okay, so for example, I know who Travis Scott is. I'm not a Travis Scott fan, but I do like some of his songs when I hear them on the radio. There's maybe like one or a few songs that might be on a playlist. So I might be judging based on my perspective of him from what I know sonically of him, but not necessarily as a fan. Albums that I'm familiar with and people whose discography I'm familiar with, right here in the top like five or the last five, is Usher Confessions and Rage Against the Machine. I'm familiar with their discography. I might not know every album, but I've listened to full projects of them. Robin, I'm familiar with her as an artist. I like some of her songs. I'm pretty sure I had some of those songs in playlists off this album, but I'm not familiar with the full project and her full discography, but I do like her as an artist. And even with Eagles, I know Eagles are a classic band. Hotel California, classic song. I don't know that full project, but I do know it's legendary. So I'm just going to give my perspective based on my knowledge of these artists that I know that I'm listening to. And then we have somebody like Lord. I don't listen to her. I know that the one song that was really big back in the day, Royals, but I know she's a dope artist. And, and I'll be fair and even say that I'm not familiar with this project, so I'm not going to give it too much, heat or weight on it. But I will say, okay, I know this artist and they are pretty dope. So, with that said, that's a pretty much a background understanding of my opinion and my perspective. Okay, you know what? I think I might do this like this. I mean, like, can y'all still see the list? I feel like if this were on a wider screen, you could probably. Nah, I feel like it's kind of hard to see. Um, okay, this might be better actually. I think if I can. Okay, but y'all can't see the numbers like that. Okay, there we go. All right, perf. I think this works. This is cool. Okay, so 100. We got Robin. Body Talk. Now I'm also gonna look on my Spotify just to pull up the songs that's on here. So with Body Talk, some of the songs that I know that are on this album that I do really like are "Dancing on My Own," "Call Your Girlfriend," and I think I might have heard the "You Should Know Better" track with her and Snoop Dogg. I'm not 100% sure. And I'm not going to play anything on here because I'm not trying to get this live stream demonetized. We're just talking music, but I'm not going to play anything. So, because my live streams where I do my practices or like vocal arrangements, if I'm not composing it myself and I'm using a backtrack, those get demonetized because of copyright. So I'm trying to at least have some content on here where when I do get monetized, so make sure you subscribe to this channel so we can get to 1,000 subscribers. We're really close. I'm really close to 200, which I'm excited about. Right now I'm at like 172. And yeah, I was just like in the like uh 160s for a while because I hadn't posted for like a majority of the beginning of this year. But we back, okay? And we back. We live streaming, so make sure you subscribe if you enjoy the vibes. We talk music. We do musical things here. It's a good time. So, with that said, so on our road to being monetized, I want to make sure I do actually have some content so I can get some coin. You know what I'm saying? I got bills to pay too, just like everybody else. You know what I mean? I'm just out here trying to survive out here. Anyway, so back to the album. So I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to this full project, but I know some of the songs on here, and they're bops. They're bops, and bonafide bops. I'm surprised she made it up here, but I love that for her as an artist. So shout out to Robin. Okay, so we have Hotel California Eagles. Like I said before, I haven't listened to this whole album, but what's the name? I know that song, and that song is about. Shout out to to Guitar Hero, because of Guitar Hero, I'm familiar with more rock music, and songs like Hotel California. And I'm just gonna like briefly look on this album just to see if there's anything that might stand out to me. Nah, nah, I don't know like that. But yeah, classic. It's a classic. I know it's a classic album. It came out in 1976, and the Eagles are a classic band. So, yeah, shout out to them. Okay, so we got Astro World by Travis Scott. I think I've heard this album maybe a few times back in the day when I was like dating someone who listened to this album or was really following this artist. Now I wasn't. Like I said already, I'm not really a Travis Scott girly, but I like some of the Travis Scott songs. You know, yeah, I'm trying to think like what songs are on this project. I think I might have listened to this like one time, but like when you put an album on and you're like doing things, so you're not really paying attention to what song you're listening to. Um, yeah, that was one of those things. And you know what I'm thinking? And that makes me think of I know artists, not the same artist, but I'm sure they might have collaborated. This makes me think of Kid Cudi. I feel like Kid Cudi's not on this list, and I'm surprised Man on the Moon isn't on here. Let me just kind of like breeze through real quick and just see. Yeah, Man on the Moon is on, and now I know there's a bunch of artists that are on that aren't on here that we can debate and talk about, like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, literally the vocal trinity that I mentioned in my other live stream. You know, which is blasphemy. Um, and but in terms of like hip hop and more modern takes, I'm surprised Man on the Moon isn't on here, especially because I was listening to Ebro talk about it on Rap Life, and which is a show where they discuss hip hop on Apple Music's platform. And he was saying that it was a lot of people who are under 30 who voted and put their input onto in this list. So just a little background in terms of how the list got put together according to Ebro. If I'm wrong, my bad. But he was saying that I'm assuming the people that were working at Apple Music, everybody, well, not everybody, but there was a group of individuals who had a chance to put in their top 25 albums. And so they comprised the list based on that. And because there's a newer generation of people who are more familiar with more modern music, and I'm sure there's people of a younger age that listen to older music too, but that's probably why there's a lot more modern and more recent albums on this list compared to, like, say, like an older generation where it would probably be like all old school music, and it's like all them new school kids don't got no good music, not like back in the day, like, and but the thing is, I can appreciate that though, because times are changing, and as time goes on there's more music. And I'm pretty sure there's people from back in the day when those albums were coming out, and their, generations before them were like, oh, this ain't the good music like our day. That's always going to be a generational thing. But yeah, I think it's interesting that Kid Cudi isn't on here. But anyway, okay, so Rage Against the Machine. They're one of my favorite bands. I've always said that Rage Against the Machine is one of my top 5 favorite bands, and Zach De La Rocha, to me, should be considered uh on any hip hop rapper list. Even though you might not necessarily classify Rage Against the Machine as hip hop, there's soulful funk hip hop elements in their music because he's literally rapping on the songs. And there's so many different pulls of genres in Rage Against the Machine. And I always say he needs to be considered when you talk about rappers. He should be on those lists, even though he might not necessarily be hip hop per se. But when you talk about rapping, they need to put a little bit more respect on Zach's name. And so Rage Against the Machine debut album, classic. It's a classic album, and they have an amazing discography. Um, all right, so let's get into it. All right, what songs are on here? All right, so we got Bomb Track on here. And I'm not gonna pull up the track list on here. We're just gonna keep the album list, and I'll just tell you what's on the tracks. And y'all could just look it up yourselves. But yeah. So Bomb Track, ooh, good one. Killing in the Name. Like I don't know if that was their first single, but I know it's like one of the singles on this album. Take the Power Back, Settle for Nothing, Bullet in the Head, Know Your Enemy, Wake Up, Fistful of Steel, Township Rebellion, Freedom. Freedom's one of my favorite Rage Against the Machine songs, period. Like, just the oh my god, such a good one. Yeah, great song. Okay, because like I said, I'm not playing the songs on here, but just the transitions. Okay, we're gonna have a rage moment. what makes Rage Against the Machine so amazing is the musicality, right? You got like these sick smooth ass bass lines. You got like these sick guitar solos. Shout out to Tom Morello. Forgive me, I don't remember all the members' names, and I know there were member changes throughout the years, but you know, bear with me. I ain't perfect. But yeah, no, this album is just so good, and like I said, they have such real like such rich musicality, rich musicality in their music. And there's shifts and different changes in melody and tempo changes. And like I said before, they pull from so many different genres and make it palatable and sonically dope. And this album, like for this to be their debut album out the gate, amazing, amazing. It's an amazing record. And it came out what, 1992, and that's over 30 years ago, like 30, 32 years ago, I believe, if my math is right. I think my math is mathing. Yeah, so crazy. And and it's still slaps to this day. Timeless, timeless record. Okay, so Pure Heroine. I'm like I said before, I'm not familiar with Lord like that. I think this might be that album, her debut with the Royals record. Yeah. Okay, and this came out like 2013. Oh, such a time. It's interesting how for me I feel like decades don't really have like a feeling until the time is already passed and you're into the next decade, and then you look back at that time. Like during the 2010s, I couldn't really like figure out like what is the vibe of the 2010s, because you know how people are like, "Oh, that look is so 90s. This look is so like, oh, this is so 80s." And and during the early 2000s, like I was a kid growing up during that time. 2010s were like my teenage years when I was in high school and going into college and everything and getting into music. So like that was definitely like a pivotal era for me, when life was a little bit more blissfully ignorant. But heavy on the bliss though. It was good times. And when I think back to that era, I know this song, and just like, my friend groups that I was hanging out with at that time, and just like the vibes of like, teenage angst and all those things. Like it definitely was that moment. And Royals was a cool song because that was that song of like, just kind of like going against the grain of wanting to be like the popular girl, or like, the queen bees, which is a reference to the song, before any hive members start trying to, no much respect, well, no shade, but literally saying like, we don't, we'll never be that because we're not like the cool kids or the popular kids. And I always thought that was really cool. And it's funny because at that time, I'm pretty sure like the cool kids, popular kids were singing those songs. Very much like that Nirvana song. Um, oh, what's that song? What's that song? Oh, I'll know it if I see the video. Hold on. It's off of Nevermind, which is on the list. I think it's Come As You Are. I feel like it's Come As You Are. Actually, no. I don't think it is. No, not Come As You Are. But it is on that album. It might be Lithium, where they kind of say like, the people singing along to the song don't realize that like we're talking about you on the song. It's like the synopsis of my life. Um, okay, I just got to look up that. I forget which. If you know what I'm talking about, put it in the comments. Um, in Bloom, in Bloom. I think it's in Bloom. I'm positive it's that one. Yeah, in Bloom. Okay. I'm like, somebody can put the lyrics in the comments because I don't want to have to look it up. But y'all get what I'm saying. I don't want to spend too much time on it. But yeah, In Bloom essentially is the song. It's kind of like how I feel like Royals was at that time. But yeah, shout out to Lord. All right, so next album, Usher Confessions. Now, an album that I know front to back to front. Okay, now the way Confessions was like the impact of that time. What was that? 2003, I believe. Whew, baby. When I tell you that, okay, 2004. I'm pretty sure songs were coming out like towards the end of 2003, going into 2004. But man, just a flawless album. Okay, and shout out to Jermaine Dupri because I'm pretty sure he did production on this. This to me is arguably Usher's best album. I mean, it made it on the list, right? But it was just such a perfectly composed and crafted R&B record. And there were so many things. You had your dance songs, you had your bop songs, the slow jams, the grown and sexy records, and there was not a song on this album that felt like a filler song. Like, when you listen to some albums and you hear some songs, it's like, okay, it's all right, but y'all could have left this one out. And you know how artists say they'll do like 100 songs and then they'll try to narrow it down from there. And I'm like, sometimes you listen to them albums and it's like, this the one you picked out of the 100? Like, what the rest of them sound like? And this album does not give that. Everything is a bop. Everything slaps. And there's no skips on this record. Every song is quality. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're somebody like Usher. Well, I mean, that's not true because his first few albums are great too. But especially Confessions, because like I said, there's so many different range of types of R&B songs and everything sounds so cohesive, and they transition well without anything sounding like the same song. And this was really cool because you have a song like Superstar that wasn't a single, but it had its own like life in itself. And it was dope that he, even though it was like 2 seconds of a moment for his performance at the Super Bowl where he did Superstar, um but it's dope to have those nuances because that album was so big at the time. And I'm pretty sure when it came out, it was like the second album to go diamond after Thriller. I could be wrong on that stat, but I remember hearing that a lot. And just, man, you got, yeah, Throwback, you got Jadakiss on here, Confessions Part 2, Burn, Caught Up, Superstar, Interlude. And the interlude is a vibe too. But then you got Superstar, Truth Hurts, got reason to believe that you've been falling around. Like, just such quality. Simple things, like, just such a bop of a song. Underrated, but classic. Then you got Bad Girl. And then, of course, that infamous moment when he performed it with Beyonce. And she didn't sing not a near nan lyric, okay? She came out there, strutted her stuff, did the choreography, and dipped. And it was a moment. And then you got That's What It's Made For. Vocally, this song is so phenomenal. Like, I get that he's talking about, like, getting it in with a lady. But if you just listen to it purely for the vocals, like just the runs that he's doing on this, first of all, the runs on the whole album, but the runs on this song, people sleep on Usher as a vocalist. I feel like. I feel like we know he can sing and we know he has great music and he's a great performer and he dances. But even if he weren't a dancer, he would still be a phenomenal artist because Usher is a great vocalist. Like, and just his vocal approach on this album and the runs and the ad libs and just, just great, just great. Can You Handle It, Do It To Me, Take Your Hand, Follow Me, My Boo, Red Light, Seduction, which I think were on like the deluxe versions. Those weren't on the regular one. But just a good album. Confessions Part 2 remix. I didn't know there was another remix. I'm like, you got Confessions, Confessions Part 2, you got Part 2 remix. You know, I was like, my goodness, how many confessions do you need, sir? But yeah, oh man, amazing album. Amazing. Okay. Burial Untrue. I don't know who that is. I don't know that them songs. I don't know what that is. No shade to that group band person. We're gonna skip it because I don't want to say the wrong things. But shout out to y'all for making a list though. Shout out to my man Gucci. um anyway, so we have a seat at the table. Now, talk about talk about a modern classic. And you know what? I will say, because I was a huge fan of When I Get Home sonically, when it first came out. I feel like that album's underrated. And dare I say, actually, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I'll say for a period of time, for like a few years, maybe like a few years ago when it first came out, I liked When I Get Home more than A Seat at the Table. Blasphemy. If y'all, if you want to call it that. Dare I say. Yeah, I'll say it. I don't know if I feel that way right now. It might be different. I think because I haven't listened to those problems and not problems, those projects in a while. And they sound differently to me now. Because when you live life and you discover things and you're like, okay, I see that. And just life just changes how you experience music. But both phenomenal albums. But we're talking about A Seat at the Table because that's what made the list. And I get it because it's a critically acclaimed album. It was more popular. It was a moment when it came out, 2016. And of course, this came out after, well, let's just say the whole Knowles Carter family all dropped phenomenal projects after that infamous elevator moment, right? And everybody was, talking about that whole moment that happened at the Met. And then from that, you get 444 from Jay-Z, Lemonade from Beyonce, which is mentioned on this list, and we get A Seat at the Table from Solange. And this, mind you, I'm pretty sure all those albums came out either on the year of 2016 or close to it. Either way, they all came out with phenomenal projects and all critically acclaimed. So, but we're talking about Solange right now. So, A Seat at the Table, right? This is one of those albums. Now, when I first listened to it, I might have like skipped a few records here and there. And it took me a while to really get into the vibe of Scales with Kalela, and I really like Kalela. I like her first like mixtape project that she came out with. Um, but we'll get into that another time. But shout out to Kalela. Saw her at Afropunk years ago, back in the day. Um, but excuse me. Um, but aside from that record, the whole album is one of those albums where you can literally just put that on start and just, I have this playlist on here. I mentioned it before on one of my older live streams, but I have a playlist that's called like Sunday Love. And I have two different playlists. I have a playlist of albums and then a playlist of Lucy's, what I call them. Which are just kind of like singles or say maybe like an artist where I might just know a few of their songs, but I haven't really listened to their full discography. Or maybe I might know their discography and I only like a few songs and it just fits the vibe of the playlist. But on my album version of that playlist, A Seat at the Table is on there because the whole vibe is like, music that you play on Sundays when you're like cleaning or doing like some self-care or some like pampering kind of vibes. And there's a lot of Sade in there. There's Solange, there's Jill Scott, Erica Badu, that kind of vibe. And A Seat at the Table is one of those albums where you can put it on start and let that thing rock. And I think And sometimes after hearing an album a few times, you kind of get tired of the interludes because it's like, all right, let's skip to the song because that's what I want to hear. But when you're first experiencing an album and the message and what it's supposed to be, I feel like this is one of those albums where I'll even let the interludes rock, because it's like gems and just valuables that are in those interludes, especially when she interviewed her father and her mother, and then had Master P on here too, and him talking about coming up, putting together No Limit Records, and just that moment in his life where he was offered a deal for, I forget, I think it was like 10 million or something like that. It was either like 1 million or 10 million that he was offered a deal from a record label, and he turned it down. And his brother's like, what are you doing? We could come up, we could get out the hood with this. But he's like, nah, because if they're offering me this, I know I got to be worth at least like 10 times that, or something. And if I can't get it from them, then I know I could build something myself. And he did that. And he's still a multi-million dollar mogul that we know now. And he might not be making music right now, but he's selling cereal and oodles and noodles and chips. And I think he just did like this mentoring program. So, and I know he's doing phenomenal stuff. And yeah, shout out to Master P. Um and I think he had a birthday recently too. I think in April, if I'm not right, if I'm not mistaken. I think somewhere like later in the 20s of April. Why I know that, I don't know. I'm not the greatest with birthdays, so don't come for me. But shout out to Master P. Um, but yeah, The Seat at the Table, phenomenal album. Everything on here, you got Rise, Weary, Cranes in the Sky, Mad. I often quote Mad because I got a lot to be mad about in real life, though. You know, and I be trying to have grace for myself, but I'm like, always be complaining. Why you always gotta be so mad? I got a lot to be mad about. Because I do. But I try not to be, though. That's why you see me here in a good mood. It's a good vibe. Okay? Anyway, don't you wait. Don't touch my hair, because don't touch my hair. Um, you know, and there's a lot of layers with that. We can talk spiritually, for the girls that like to, get into the voodoo of things, because that's a thing. We could talk about the woo woo, but I digress. That's another topic for another live stream. We're on music right now. So, um, where do we go? Fubu, um, Borderline, Junie, Don't Wish Me Well, Scales, like all the songs on here. And I'm just like kind of like briefly skipping through like the interludes. But yeah, no, classic album. Amazing. Amazing album. Um yeah, so shout out to A Seat at the Table. I feel like it should be earlier on this playlist, but that's beside the point. And I will say there's some people that said there wasn't enough R&B, but I was actually shocked by the amount of R&B that was on here and the kinds of R&B that was on here. So, our next album, Flower Boy by, oh my gosh, I'm what, 40 minutes in, and I'm only child, we didn't even get past the first 10. I mean, all right, we'll see how this goes. I might have to break this up into sections, because I was like, oh, it might take an hour, girl. Like that, if it took an hour, then that means it'd be like, nah, I'd have to like breeze through each section. But anyway, Flower Boy, my personal favorite Tyler the Creator album. And you know what? When he's talked about this album before, he knew that it was one of those albums that would be people's favorite, and he made it that way because of the reception of, what was that album that he came out with before then? Cherry Bomb, I think. Yeah, I think. All right, just show all the albums. Okay, see, I wish they showed a discography, not like. Okay, yeah, there we go. There we go. Um, yeah, because of Cherry Bomb, it was like too weird, too eclectic, too many like different things happening, and I get it. So he was like, "All right, let me just make Flower Boy for the people that love the chord progressions and the catchy melodies." And it was that. It was. It's also one of those albums. I made a tweet about this a few years ago, and I still stand by that tweet. That this is when it comes to quality music. This album is that. And not just this album, like, his other albums that he's come out with after this, like Igor, Call Me When You Get Lost, and, all I think those are the only albums that he put out after. And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to all of Call Me When You Get Lost. I'll eventually get to that point. But you know what's interesting about Call Me When You Get Lost? And, that being right after Solange, um, is that if you have repeatedly watched the When I Get Home film like I did, um, there's a part in, I think, I'm a Witness to the song by Solange on that album, where there's a reference to Call Me When You Get Lost. And I've noticed this about several albums where I feel like, I don't know, this might be my little musical conspiracy theory, but there is some albums out here that are all like interwoven with each other. And there's like little references being made in different places, like even on that same album, When I Get Home by Solange. And what song is it? All right, Tyler, we're gonna get back to you in a second. We'll get back to you. No disrespect. Oh, what's that song? I think Beltway, maybe. No. Let me turn the volume down because I'm not trying to have y'all demonetize me. Actually, it's not a Witness. Okay, the Call Me When You Get Lost visual part, I think, is happening during Beltway. But there's also a clip of a Steve Lacy song on there too. And from Apollo, sorry, I forget the title of that album. He put it in Roman numerals, and I don't really read Roman numerals a lot unless I'm looking at tarot cards. But give me grace, y'all. Give me grace. I ain't perfect. I'm not one of these like, article girlies that know all the details. But either way, there's those references of like Tyler the Creator on her album, and then Steve Lacy on her album too. And then also something that I noticed, because I did mention 444. If you look at a Tribe Called Quest album, the last one that they came out with, Thank You for Your Service, We Got It From Here, it looks like 444 on there. I could be wrong, but I feel like I'm not. Um, so I'm actually gonna pull that up real quick and just show y'all what I'm talking about. And if y'all want to get into a musical scavenger hunt, I am with that. I mean, but then again, I don't know. If my life were anything like the Truman Show, y'all probably know this before I did. Um, and I'm just discovering what some people might already know. But I'm just saying. Okay, so hold on. Let's just have a moment here. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to disconnect this for a second. We'll get back to that. And I'm just going to show y'all what I'm talking about. Okay, so if you look at this album cover, right? There's a lot of Easter eggs on we can really go down that rabbit hole, but that's not what we're doing right now. But it looks like 444 on here, like the thank you for your service 444. And this I don't know if this is supposed to be a reference to the Looney Tunes Martian. Um, Possibly. And then like the record images. So I'm like, okay, like is this leading us down a path? Like where are we going? I don't know. So I might am I tripping? I don't think I am. I think I'm standing firm. I'm you know, but I don't know, that's just my musical conspiracy theory. And I've noticed that on quite a few albums. Um and yeah. But anyway, back to the list. Back to the list. Okay. All right. So, my gosh, we ain't even get nowhere. All right. So, I think I'll break this up into sections. I think that's what we'll do. Um, I think that's what we'll do. We'll break it up into like maybe like 25. Let's do because I don't want to do like tens. I don't want to do tens because that'll be like 10 separate videos, and I don't want to do all that. But I think if I break it up into like four parts, so like we'll do the first 25, the second 25, 20, okay, that makes more sense. All right, so anyway, Flower Boy, amazing album. Um, Sorry, Tyler, we had to deviate from you for a second, but we back, and we back, and we back. All right, so Flower Boy, we got okay. Also, Skipless album, sonically amazing. Like, there's not a song on this album that I don't like, that just doesn't vibe. Like every record on here is so good. Like the production, the musicality, the you know his approach to certain songs. Like the rapping, the features, the sonics, just the vibes of the different songs. Like you got Who Dat Boy with ASAP Rocky is real hip hop, and that kind of vibe. And you got like See You Again, and it's like real vibey because you got Kali Uchis on there. Um, you got Frank Ocean on here. And then you have songs like Boredom, that's like real chill and like find some time to do something, find some time, like just so good. And then also November, I think, is one of my favorites on here. Glitter, a vibe. I mean, the whole album is dope. And then like Lil Wayne on Dropping Seeds, like lyrically amazing. Um, Boy Ain't Got Time. Just great album. Just great album. If you haven't heard the album, listen to the album. Potholes. Watch out for the potholes. Watch out for with Jaden Smith. Just like I said, amazing album, start to finish. I'm just looking at like the top of my head the songs that I'm looking at. Um, all of this is dope, and I'll save that thought. But yeah, shout out to Flower Boy. Like I said, it's my personal favorite Tyler the Creator album, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. Okay, George Michael, Listen Without Prejudice. Now that's a word. I'm not. To be clear, I have not listened to this album, and I really don't listen to George Michael like that. I know there might be some popular songs of his, like Faith, and there's some other ones, but and I'm pretty sure he was in Wham. I think I'm right about that. And we know some Wham songs, but I haven't listened to that, so I'm not gonna give my opinion on it. But I know George Michael is an amazing vocalist. Rest in peace. And that sounds like an album that I might have to give a chance to. All right, Back in Black, Back in Black, Back to Black. Shout out to those albums making the list. But AC/DC, I know they're a classic band. I don't really listen to them a whole lot. If y'all know some AC/DC songs on here, everybody that I'm kind of like sliding through because I'm not familiar with the music. And if y'all listen to those albums or those artists and you have some recommendations, let me know in the comments below. Okay. And I'd appreciate that. But yeah, shout out to AC/DC. I'm familiar with the band. I just don't know the songs like that. Um, Okay, the Fame Monster, Lady Gaga. Okay, first of all, I kind of felt the way that Fame wasn't on here because I feel like Fame, even though like I know that was her like debut album, and kind of like similar to what I was saying about SZA, is how like Control was a moment, and I understand that SOS is like what's catapulted her to selling out arenas. And the Fame Monster kind of did the same with Lady Gaga, but Fame was so good. Fame was also one of those few albums where like I could probably play that whole album straight through, and I might have skipped like a song or two, you know. But I remember Fame just being a dope debut album, and like Starstruck, um, Beautiful and Dirty Rich. You know what I mean? Like the B sides on that album, as well as the singles. And usually, if I listen to an album, I usually gravitate towards the songs that are on the album versus the single because you hear the single all the time. But Fame was one of those albums where I can listen to Poker Face again and just dance because they were just good songs, especially Poker Face. Like just sonically, the beat, the lyrics, the wordplay, like in the video, like, and she was giving us fashion and choreography, and come on, who's doing that? And I talked about Lady Gaga briefly in my last live stream, but like when Gaga stepped on the scene, the girls were not doing what she was doing. And I get it, like you can reference and say like, oh, she's just kind of like a modern Madonna, but and the stuff that she was doing was similar to Grace Jones, and she's giving her credit to Grace Jones, especially when she was wearing the leotard with the hoodie, and she was like very. She said she was inspired by Grace Jones, and when she first came out, she kept with that look, so she was familiar, so she could leave an imprint on people's mind like, oh, that's that girl that got that song, before. And then once she started establishing herself, that's when she started branching out and giving you all the crazy looks. But that was dope. But we're talking about Fame Monster now. So Fame Monster was still a great album though. And I remember at the time telling my brother, I was like, yo, you should listen to this album. Like, I know you don't listen to pop like this, but Fame Monster by Gaga is really like, it's got bops. And you know why? Because back in the day, like me and my brother, we I forget how we stumbled upon Britney's Circus album. Um I forget what song on there that he really liked. And then it became a joke for us because he don't really listen to Britney Spears. Like he listens to hip hop, and I mean he listens to like a wide variety of music, but it was a kind of like an inside joke. And so I don't know if it was like Womanizer or something like that, but he liked one of the songs. And so for I think either Christmas or his birthday, I bought him the Circus CD, or my dad bought it, but I picked it out because it was like kind of going off that joke that he liked that song. But then we listened to the album and we was like, yo, Circus by Britney is fire. And so, and I say this because when Fame Monster came out, I was like, I feel like this is a pop album that my brother might like, based on how we stumbled upon Circus being a really dope album. And I felt the same way about Fame Monster when it came out and when I listened to it all the way through. And I was like, wait, hold on. There's some really dope records on here. And hold on, let me just pull up the album. I'm like, okay, not the deluxe one, but just the album by itself. Oh, you know what? I'm saying Fame Monster, but I'm actually thinking about Born This Way. I think Born This Way is the album that I was like, yo, you gotta listen to this because it is bops on here. Yeah, Born This Way was that shit for me. So I gotta hold on, give me a second. Let me really remind myself on what was on Fame Monster. Okay, so you got Bad Romance, Alejandro, Monster, Speechless, Dance in the Dark, Telephone, So Happy I Could Die, Teeth. Okay, I remember that. I remember this album. I'm thinking of Born This Way. I actually, now that I kind of have an understanding of what songs are on what, I probably would have preferred Born This Way over Fame Monster. But Fame Monster, because the impact that Bad Romance had when that came out in the video, And the Alexander McQueen fashion, the girls weren't doing. And then the choreography, the I want your loving, I want you, so good. Okay, Bad Romance, Alejandro, that video. Um, yeah, there's a few songs on here that I fuck with. Telephone was a vibe for me, and I have a controversial hot take per usual. Um, when it comes to Lady Gaga and Beyonce collaborations, I feel like Telephone is the better song compared to Video Phone. And I think it's the better video. I'm just saying. I feel like it's the better video because there was a concept with it, there was a storyline with it, and honestly, I just like the song better. And I think Dark Child did that, did Telephone, like, and I remember when that song it leaked online. Sorry, forgive me. This is before I understood the like inner workings of the industry, and I was just a fan, just wanting to listen to the music. Um, and I remember Telephone leaked, and I was like, oh, I need this song. Like, and I was like, Gaga and Beyonce together? And I was, at that time, I was like, yo, I would love to see them collaborate. And they did twice at the same time. And Video Phone was fly. It was dope. It's not my favorite song by Beyonce, just in general. And I mean, the video was cool. I really didn't care for Gaga's vocals on there. I just wish it was written differently. And the dance sequence that they did was really cool. And especially because Gaga said she learned it like the night before or something like that, and it was cool. But I don't know, I just felt like you can tell that more thought and time and planning was put into the Telephone video. Like, oh, that video was so good. It was. And in Gaga videos, man, that was the one thing that, like, everything about her that was just so dope to me at the time was the music was fly. It's pop music, but it's catchy pop music, and it's quality, and the musicality is dope. Because, like I said in my other live stream, she's a musician. She plays piano, so she understands music and music theory to enough of a degree to know how to construct and compose a song. She's a great singer. She's a great vocalist, and even though she has more of a music theater approach with her singing, she can do different things like a pop album and a jazz album and Broadway if she so chooses to go that route. And I could see her doing some Broadway stuff. You know what I mean? Especially because she's been in like her acting bag lately. And I would love to see her do like a live theater thing because she's a theater girl. You can tell she's like, but and then her videos, like the fashion, and even though, like, there's the crazy moments with like the meat dress and the paparazzi performance with all the blood and all that, but it's not just like her doing all these things for the antics of it. There's usually symbolism with it, or she's just serving a look, and she's telling a story, and she would tell a story with the visuals and the music videos. And I felt like her during that time, especially the Telephone video, like, was the best era and one of the best artists to do all of that. So yeah, shout out to Gaga, especially Bad Romance and Telephone. Like, those videos, hands down. But it was really, even like I said, the Fame era, because she had videos for like all these songs, like Just Dance, Love Game, Paparazzi, Poker Face, and nothing else I can say. Like, she had a music video for damn near every song, except for it wouldn't. No, Beautiful and Dirty Rich. She had a video for the Fame Bop, Starstruck. That was my shit. Um, Baby bump that track, boom slam. Mm. Did that baby bump that? I'm just like reminiscing on the songs, right? But yeah, oh my gosh, just good shit, man. It was a good time for pop music, and I couldn't appreciate it then. I mean, I knew it was dope shit, but it's different when it's nostalgic, and then you could look back to a time and be like, damn, these girls today ain't doing what they was doing back then. And I mean, there are some girls that are out here, like, that are really creative in that way, in the fashion and the videos, but not in the forefront of pop music right now. Like, I feel like there's a lot of underground artists like that, a lot of independent artists, and they're really dope, but they don't have the platform in those mainstream spaces that they should. And you're starting to see that more with like talented artists like Victoria Monet getting her shine, and Coco Jones and Tyler. Me specifically talking about like R&B pop girls, but I don't see anybody really pushing the envelope with all the things of music, vocals, songwriting, fashion, videos, red carpet, all of it at the same time. I mean, like there's moments and those girls slay, but I'm just like, I don't know, the way like Gaga was on the scene, and I'm not even to talk about like the pop girls of today. Like, okay, you got Ariana Grande, Camila Cabello, Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift. Like those are the big names, and I really don't listen to them a whole lot. I listen to Ariana from time to time, but I don't follow her a whole lot. I would say I listen to more Victoria Monet than I do Ariana. And the songs that I like from Ariana were probably written by Victoria, you know. But even those girls, like they show up and they have nice gowns, not referencing Aretha, but referencing Aretha a little bit, just a little bit. Like, like, and they're talented girls. Like they're really talented and they're dope at what they do. But I'm just saying, like the way that like Gaga shut everything the fuck down. Like the girl came to the Grammys in an egg. These bitches not coming into the Grammys in an egg. And I'm not saying they have to do that, but I'm just saying like those moments where, and of course it was like born this way, so it wasn't just like, okay, we're doing this for the gimmick and all of that. Like there was symbolism with it, there was a meaning, it tied into the rollout, like it made sense with the project that was being presented at the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't really see anybody pushing the envelope like that. And I'm like, Lord, just give me a budget, y'all. Just stop playing with me. Tell the gatekeepers to like chill down. Give me a budget so I can save creativity, because I'm like, I have these ideas and I'll be inspired by these things. And these girls, it just so happens that, I've seen some of my looks replicated. But that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing for a whole nother time. And I'm honored that even my, little old me, little independent Narice be inspiring somebody. But I'm like, let me be in these spaces with the same budget as these girls, and it'd be a different story. But that's beside the point. This isn't about me. This is me as a fan. I'm talking as me as a fan, not me as an artist. But I'm just saying, like, what I really appreciated about Gaga is that she went there and she made a moment, and it wasn't just like, there might have been stuff that might have been a little gimmicky in there, but it made sense for what was happening. Like, okay, we're gonna go to the Grammys in an egg, and we're also gonna perform Born This Way, and make it a whole. It's a whole concept, and it pulls from the look that you saw in the music video. So it was all cohesive with the world that she was creating with that project at the time. And I don't see too much of that right now. Anyway, next, Nina Simone. Oh, Nina. I've recently kind of like went into like a Nina Simone rabbit hole just a little bit. So I'm not going to act like I'm like a Nina expert and fan, but I do really appreciate her talent and her artistry as the queen, legend, goddess that she is. And I remember watching the documentary on her that's on Netflix, which was amazing, and learning so much about her, because I had heard about her as an artist and I heard some of the songs, but I wasn't really familiar with her story, and just like how she used her music to protest and take a stance at that time, and just like her background and how she studied classical music as a pianist, and her being the skilled pianist that she is. Same with Aretha Franklin, and people sleep on that about Aretha, but we'll get to Aretha because she on this list too. But Nina Simone, and just how unique her voice is. Like, you don't know, if you know anybody that sounds like Nina Simone, it's because they sound like Nina Simone. But Nina Simone doesn't sound like anybody. And she can play so many different types of music. She can get into like your, soulful R&B, and then there's songs and sounds that bend genres, and she's playing piano, and she has like her band with her. And I just feel like there's certain songs where it's like, okay, this is jazz, and then this is like something different, but it sounds like Nina Simone, and it's beautiful. and just how she sings. And she might not be like the singer to do like all the ad libs and stuff like that, but it's how she would play with her voice. And and she was such an emotional and passionate performer. Like there's a performance of her doing uh what song is it? Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. And each time she did it, it sounded different than the other time. And it's just like how she would, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it's this one performance where she just kind of like just like how she emphasizes certain notes and just like plays with her tone. And sometimes she'll like go into a high register like, please just don't let me be miss, just like just weird and nuanced and beautiful at the same time. Like I don't know, that probably sounded crazy me trying to do it, but I can hear it in my mind, like how she performed it. And my gosh, was she a talent. Rest in peace, a queen. And and she's one of those people who have those complicated stories. And I know later in her years she struggled with mental health. And I know in the documentary her daughter was saying, I know she dealt with abuse with her husband, who was named I forget, who managed her for a period of time. And then like she had so much pent up anger and trauma, and she would kind of like spill that out to her daughter. And and just hearing her daughter explain like her experience, and she was like, the world knows her as this beautiful Nina Simone, but I had to deal with the abusive side of her. And and it shows like the complexity of people and how nobody's perfect. And and I appreciate that they showed that side of her, because you can very much glamorize and glorify her as an artist, but I think it's a human thing to show even the ugly sides. And and that in all of our glory, we're not perfect. And there's this story that I forget where, I think Patti LaBelle, she was telling this story. I forget which platform. I think it might have, I don't think it was Drink Champs. I don't think it was Drink Champs. I forget where she was when she said this story, but she was talking about how she made food for Nina Simone. And they would talk on the phone, and they were friends. And just the relationship that she had with her. And and both phenomenally talented women. And speaking of Patti LaBelle, I feel like she's not on this list either. But it's okay, you can't please everybody. And and we already established that some younger folks were the ones kind of like behind this list, or a majority. Um anyway, but yeah, shout out to Nina Simone. um I'm not familiar with this album per se. Actually, hold on. Let me see. Let me actually look. Okay, so this album came out in 1965, and we have "I Put a Spell on You," "Tomorrow's My Turn," "Neke Quitte Pas," "Neme Kite Pa." I think I'm saying that wrong. "Marriage is for Old Folks," "July Tree," "Give Me Some," "Feeling Good." Okay, know that one. "One September Day," "Blues on Purpose," "Beautiful Land," "You've Got to Learn," and "Take Care of Business." Okay. I know she had that infamous song that was, I think, "Mississippi Goddamn," that was like so controversial, and people didn't want her to perform it, and she performed it anyway. Um, and then, oh, she has another song that's "To Be Black," I think. "To Be Black," "Young, Black, and Gifted." "To Be Young, Gifted, and Black." Oh my gosh. And this is one of those songs where, it doesn't sound like a, like, just sonically. Wow, this is a 9-minute song. 9 minute and 36 seconds. Wow. Um, Key of the universe. But and also numbers in my birthday. But "To Be Young, Gifted, and Black." It's one of those songs where I feel like it's genreless. It doesn't sound like a soul song, but it's just the lyrics. And I remember seeing a video of her doing this performance at I don't know where she was. It looked like it was a school or something, but it was like grown black folks there, and and it's just, oh man, just it was just a beautiful, like the lyrics in that song are just amazing. And Nina Simone, a rare talent, and just a phenomenal artist. And I'm glad that she's on here. I'm glad that she made this list because I feel like she doesn't get the flowers that she should. Like people reference her and bring her up, and you see people sample her music a lot, but I feel like she doesn't get celebrated as the genius, the prodigy that she is as a musician and as a legend. Okay, massive attack, Blue Lines. I think I've heard of this group, but I'm not familiar with their music, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to skip y'all. Much love to y'all. Shout out to y'all for making the list. My Life, Mary J. Blige. Okay, hold on, y'all. All right, what I say we doing 25, right? We doing 25. So that means we're stopping at 75. Okay. So, My Life by Mary J. Blige, which I believe is her sophomore album. I think I remember she did the documentary on it. And for me, I know some people who grew up listening to her as she was releasing music. It wasn't too much on there that they didn't already know. But for me, I didn't really grow up listening to Mary J. Blige until recently, until I started like listening to R&B stations on my own and really paying attention to the Mary J. Blige songs. Like when I was growing up, I started paying attention to Mary J. Blige with Just Fine, and can't be without you, baby, because I was on the radio all the time. But it wasn't until recently, like in my 20s, like mid 20s, where I like kind of like went back and was like, okay, hold on, let me kind of like go back and listen to some of her earlier songs. And there were songs that I've heard before on the radio, but it I never like paid a full attention to it. And it's songs that I sung along to and knew, but I didn't realize, like, oh wait, this is a Mary J. Blige song. It came out during this time. It was on her debut album, and I didn't know like her full backstory until recently. Um, and so let's roll it back a little bit. Yeah, okay, it's her sophomore album because what's the 411 is the first one that came out, but My Life was like that pivotal one for her. And also another, I'm gonna do another. I don't know if I'm gonna do a live stream about it. I might just post about it on TikTok. But I want to talk about the fear of that like sophomore album. They say that like the curse of the sophomore or whatever. Especially for artists who have a super successful debut album out the gate, and there's so much pressure to like, okay, how are you going to follow it up? Is it going to flop? Are you going to make it? Because that's your first album, and it's not guaranteed that people want to hear the second one or will stick around after the second one comes out. And she's one of those artists who knocked that out the park, her as well as SZA. And I feel like what I talked about on my TikTok about Cardi B in that space right now, because she only came out with one full album technically. I'm sure she has mixtapes and stuff like that, and she's had singles through the years, but she hasn't officially dropped her second album yet, and she's like the Cardi B. And and I talked about how I feel like she might be scared, and to especially with the success of that album of Invasion of Privacy. But I feel like she'll be okay, and she should take her time, even though it's been years. But SZA took her time. Well, technically, I know it took a while for it to come out because she was saying, like, the album's done, everything's ready. Why is Punch taking forever to put the album out? But honestly, I feel like Punch did good with the like the rollout and waiting for it to come out at that time, because they say when it comes to releasing music and what time of the year and what quarters and stuff, they suggest that artists, if there's like any doubt of like sales, to put out music in the summer. And putting out music around the holiday season that's if you're like top tier and we know you're going to sell, because one is holidays, so holiday music is at the top right now, and it's not guaranteed that people really want to hear new music, but usually artists who are really successful, like Adele, because I think Adele came out at that time. I know Alicia Keys, her more recent album came out around that time, and that's something that Nori talked about, which I didn't even realize was a thing until he talked about it when Alicia Keys was on the Drink Champs, and saying like the importance of putting out music at different times of the year. But SZA's album came out during like December, like towards the end of 2022 into the new year, and it was a huge success, even in the midst of holiday season. So I think whatever, Punch was doing strategizing, and I know SZA was over it and she was pissed off, and we seen some clips of that and her just kind of going off like, oh my God, he telling me why can't we put out the music and this and that. I think they did a good job. They did a great job because I mean, you see the success of it. And it was already going to be a success anyway because it was that. Now, I know we haven't gotten to the album yet, but I say that to say sophomore albums, right? Mary J. Blige. My Life was that sophomore album for her. And so you have songs on here like, hold on. Okay, so you got Mary Jane, All Night Long, Bop, You Bring Me Joy. I think I know that one. Marvin Interlude, I'm Lonely Woman, K. Murray Interlude, My Life, classic record. You Gotta Believe, I Never Want to Live Without You. I'm Going Down, single, that was a hit. Be With You, Mary Joint. Don't Go, I Love You, No One Else. Be Happy. I think that's my jam, if I'm correct. Okay, it's not playing on here because my sound system is. Or no, actually, I think the song just takes forever to start. Yeah, that's my jam. Okay, yeah, Be Happy. That's my shit. And You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, Aretha Franklin cover, and this came out in 1995. So she came up in the 90s. This was like some of the best era of music. Yeah, classic album, stands the test of time, and there's bops on this record. I need to listen to it all the way through. I only know like the popular songs, but yeah, Mary did her thing, and it's a classic. And shout out to her for making the list. Golden Hour, Casey Musgraves. I stumbled across her recently because there was a song, one of her songs on a TikTok video, and I was like, "Yo, what is this song?" I forget what it is. But I'm not completely familiar with her, so I'm not gonna cover her right now. But I might have to circle back and listen to her, and let you know. Shout out to the fact that I know a majority of these albums, though. Okay, Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg. I don't know if I've heard this album all the way through. I know this album is often referenced. All right. Oh, Gin and Juice is on here. 1993. All right. We got Gin and Juice, Lottie Dolly. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna lie. The only song on here that I really know is Gin and Juice. But Snoop Dogg, he's a legend in his own right. I'm pretty sure this wasn't that like his debut album. Um, and it's a classic record, and it's really what catapulted him to the superstar that he is. I mean, I want to spend more time talking about Snoop Dogg just because he is a legend and he, in his own right. But I can't really speak to this album. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't listened to it all the way through. But I will just talk about his impact on the game, and and just how today, something that's really interesting about Snoop Dogg is that as gangster as he is one of the most like palatable hip hop artists that can transcend like culture and impact multiple countries and cultures and groups of people. Like people all over the world know who Snoop Dogg is. And he's collaborated with so many different artists. He's tapped into so many different genres. And he's really stood the test of time to be someone that's relevant even to this day. And he does so many different things. Like he coaches. Um, I know he does like did the commentary of like the boxing, the match between Roy and Tyson. He does a million things. He's got the products, and also referencing Master P, he's got the Brodus family cereal with Master P, and and now he owns Death Row again. So I mean, like his impact is undeniable. And, okay, there's this really interesting story about with him and Dionne Warwick, and I forget where they were initially, but Dion, um, like, basically ran up on them. It was like, y'all be at my house at this time, 7 in the morning, you know, and don't be late, and um, I want to see y'all. And so I think it was Snoop Dogg. I don't know who else it was, but just this was during the time where he was at Death Row, and I don't know if it was Suge Knight there too. I don't know if Tupac was there, but it was Snoop Dogg was definitely there. And so they get there early, and at 7 o'clock they go in, and she lets them in the house, and she's talking to them and this and that, and then and she basically just kind of like schooled them on like the misogyny in their music. And she's like, you got a mom. Paraphrasing, by the way, this isn't a direct quote. You can look this up. This is online. But she's like, call me a bitch. And they're like, huh? And mind you, this is the Dionne Warwick, who is a legend in her own right, who also I don't think is on this list. But it's okay. Everybody can't make the list. But so she's like, if you wouldn't say it to me, why would you say that to anybody else? To another woman, because y'all got moms, right? And at some point, some of y'all got kids, and I think some of them probably didn't have kids at the time. And he's like, well, one day you might have a daughter, and what if she grows up listening to this and hears you calling other women the B word? You wouldn't say that to her. So, and she basically got they act together. And I don't know if there was a direct shift in their music right then and there, but Snoop Dogg said that it made an impact, and it made him more aware of how he used the B word in his music, and just be more cognizant and considerate when writing his music, and how he approached talking about women. And then now we got songs like Beautiful, and I mean, of course there's going to be the video vixens and the bikinis and all those things, but I think that was a dope story. Okay, anyway, next album, Patti Smith, Horses. Oh, Patty, I wish I knew who you were. I'm so sorry. Okay, actually, I do know who this is. Oh shit. Okay, I know who this is. I don't know the song. I don't know the album. I don't know the songs. But shout out to you. Shout out to you being on the list. Um, I might have to check it out. If y'all know Patti Smith and you know some songs, let me know. Get Rich or Die Trying. 50 Cent, classic album. I recently kind of got like in a 50 Cent bag. Specifically for my birthday, listening to like the Masquerade album. But I like the songs for the ladies, obviously, but I also like the hip hop records too. But the B sides of like build you up, and then I stumbled across God Gives Me Style, and that's been my theme song. I mean, of course, if y'all be watching through the Truman Show, then y'all probably already know. But that was my go-to song. That was my song for my birthday before it got railroaded by trauma that I don't want to get into right now. But I was like, look, I'm gonna do what I can on my own to enjoy my B-Day, and that was a part of it. Listening to some 50 Cent records. So even though he's not like the most inspirational person, and he'd be trolling all day, shout out to 50 for making those records, because it definitely helped lift my spirits during a testing time in my life. And I like to go back to that song from time to time. So, you know, Even though I'm pretty sure if my life was like the Truman Show and he just so happened to know about it, he'd probably be trolling me too, and that's okay. I mean, whatever. I can take it. But but yeah, shout out to that record. God gave me style. God gave me grace. God gave me style. God gave me grace. That's not on that album. That's not on the album that we're talking about. But whatever. All right. Get Rich or Die Trying, right? Even though I'm sure they was just playing some songs on here. Oh, what a coincidence. Outside. Anyway, so we got What Up Gangsta, Patiently Waiting. I don't know that one. Many Men. Which is interesting. That's the song that Matt Rife opened his special with, Natural Selection. Shout out to Matt Rife. I like him. I think I do. I think I like him. Um, I gotta squint sometimes. Like, should I like this person, or is there some deeper meanings here? But nah, I like his come up. And people are saying like he came out of nowhere and he just like blew up on TikTok. But he said that he's been doing comedy since like he was a teenager, and he's put years into doing comedy. So even though people are just now catching on to Matt Rife, he's been in the game, put like paying his dues for years, and it just so happens that it takes like 10 years for people to blow up overnight. Essentially, that's beside the point. But anyway, so Many Men is on here. Bob in the Club, that's like a birthday classic. What else is on this album? Pimp, yeah. PIMP technically. 21 Questions, that's my Joan. That's my Joan right there. Wangsta. Damn, there's hella songs on this album. Um yeah, there's a lot of there's some pops on here, man. And when I tell you, when 50 Cent came on the scene, like I remember like 2003, mind you, I was just a little kitty, going to school and after school program, and like, people was just singing the songs and stuff like that, and then I would hear it on the radio. And I remember I'm like, Angie, is that you? I remember when I remember really liking 21 Questions. And I always loved when that song came on the radio. And I feel like it never came on the radio enough. Like all the songs that I really liked were the songs that would like every now and then you could catch it on the radio. And I'm just like, just hoping. And I'm like, how do you tell these people what songs to play? And I didn't know that you could call in on the radio stations and request songs. Like I didn't know that was a thing when I was a kid. But I just always like would want to hear 21 Questions on the radio. But man, this was such a time, man. And like, this was kind of like that moment where there was that shift between like Ja Rule's reign and 50 Cent just came and stomped through everybody, and he was just like the top guy. Yeah, shout out to 50 Cent being on the list. Okay, Neil Young, After the Gold Rush. I know who Neil Young is. I don't listen to him like that. Shout out to him. He on the list. um I think I think he might be like one of those older humans that's been in the game for a while. But shout out to him. Now, Eminem, Marshall Mathers. I'm like, okay, we got some um, shady aftermath folks back to back here with 50 Cent and Eminem. The Marshall Mathers and the Marshall Mathers LP was my personal favorite Eminem album for a long time. I think it still is. I just haven't listened to Eminem a lot recently just because it's a bit much. When I was a kid and I was a heathen, just listening to the music that my brother would play and not really caring about the lyrics. And that was a thing too. I listened more for production and the beats and then like flows and stuff like that more than I was listening to the context of the lyrics. And I realized that with a former friend of mine. Shout out to her wherever she is in the world. I hope she's doing well. And we were debating Biggie and Tupac, and she was like, "I don't like Tupac. I mean, not Tupac. Sorry." She was like, "Oh, I can't stand Biggie. I don't like his music. This and that." I'm like, "Girl, what you mean?" And she was like, "No, I think Tupac is way better than Biggie." And I'm like, "Hold on." Now the thing is, I think Tupac is amazing and he's definitely a great artist, but I always felt like Biggie was the better rhymer, like his flow and his delivery. And I think Tupac was the better artist and in terms of like his stance and things. And so, I was like, girl, but have you heard the song though? Like, who shot you? You know what I mean? Like, Juicy hypnotized, and she was like, yeah, but I don't want to hear about him shooting up all these people and this and that. Like, at least with Tupac, he's talking about like empowering the women and keep your head up and this and that. And that was the first time where I realized that I listened to music differently. I mean, aside from the fact that I love music, but I realized like when it came to hip hop that I really wasn't like I wasn't too invested in the lyrics. And when she broke it down to me like that, I was like, you got a point here. And I can understand why she liked Tupac more than Biggie because she's a single mom, at the time. And, she likes to hear the songs for the girls. And me, I like to hear like raps. Like, I'm like, where's the bars? What is the production dope? And I like the girl songs too. But I was like really in the hip hop bag, and I was like, "Girl, but do you hear his flow? Do you hear the double entendres?" She like, "Girl, I don't care about none of that. He talking about shooting up people, and I don't want to listen to that." And I was like, "Wow, she got a point." So from that perspective, I understood where she came from, and so I say that to say how it ties into Eminem because I listened to music like that, and because my brother would listen to a lot of like Busta Rhymes and Eminem and all that like really hardcore hip hop stuff, I listened to that music and I listened to that with the perspective of like really liking the music and liking the flow sonically versus what they were actually talking about. So like him talking about like killing his mom and all this crazy stuff, that shit like went over my head. Like I heard him saying it, but it didn't have any effect on me because I didn't take it seriously. I was just like, but the beat is dope though, And so now that I'm older and and I'm more intentional about what I listen to and lyrics and context and stuff like that, I really don't listen to a lot of Eminem these days like I used to, but I do appreciate his skill and his talent as a lyricist. And when I was listening to a lot of Eminem back in the day, you know, Marshall, the Marshall Mathers LP had some of my like, I think it was the album with the most favorite Eminem songs on there. So like, Kill You, I remember I like that song. Stan, which is a whole moment, and just like his approach on that song and rapping from the perspective of like a, a stan, Um, the skits on here was wild. And like I said, Paul Rosenberg is his manager, not Peter Rosenberg, but it's okay. I mentioned that on TikTok. Who Knew? I think I remember liking that song, The Way I Am. Yeah. The Real Slim Shady, that was on that record. Remember Me, Marshall Mathers, Drug Ballad. I don't think I really like that one. Amityville, I didn't like that either. I think Kim, Under the Influence, Criminal. Yeah. Like, and just like the beats was dope on here. Like as an album, it's still probably my favorite Eminem album, but I haven't really listened to it in a very long time just because like it, it'd be a lot. It'd be a lot because I'm very much like a high vibrational girl these days. I try my best to be, despite the witches and the warlocks out here. Um, but I just be trying to meditate with my crystals and my sound bowls and my Tibetan healing frequencies. So I'm a lot more cognizant and intentional about what I listen to. So I can't really like listen to a lot of Eminem right now. Like I don't even watch horror movies like I used to back in the day with my brother. Like I don't know why I was watching and listening to all these outlandish things. I mean I do because I was hanging out with my brother, and we would watch movies like that and we would listen to this kind of music. And most of the music that he was into I listened to. Like I adapted to a lot of the stuff that my brother and my dad really liked. And of course, excuse me, later on I developed my own sense of music that I really was into. Like Mariah Carey, and well, it stemmed from a song that my brother listened to. Just quick backstory: how I even became a Mariah Carey fan was because my brother had this was back during like LimeWire days. He had this song, Crazy Bone, I Still Believe, featuring Mariah Carey and The Brat. And I remember he would play that song, and I was like, oh my gosh, who's the girl singing? And then, he was like, oh, that's Mariah Carey. And I'm like, who? And mind you, this was like early 2000s. So I kind of like, so I saw that I realized that we had Mariah Carey CDs in the house. So we had the first one, her debut album, and then the Unplugged. And I listened to it, and forgive me, y'all. At the time, it didn't resonate with me because I was more into like R&B Mariah before like contemporary adult like ballads. I wasn't really that wasn't my vibe at the time. So when I heard Fantasy on the radio, ooh, sorry, not me going into Mariah Carey while talking about Eminem. I admire both as an artist, but I'm still a Mariah stan. But why did I even bring that up? Why was that even a thing? Oh, because I was listening to the music that my brother would like listen to, and then I somehow, but the point in me talking about Mariah Carey was that I became a fan because of that song, which is an underrated song. And for the longest, I was trying to look up that song, and anytime I looked up Mariah Carey, I Still Believe, it would be her cover of the Brenda K. Starr version of I Still Believe. But I'm like, she did another song called I Still Believe, and I was trying to find the CD with it. And I remember my dad got me the number ones Mariah Carey CD with like all her number one singles, and I Still Believe was on there. And I'm like, this isn't the song that I was looking for. And I felt bad, but it was like it still had her hits on there. But I finally found it, or I had to ask my brother. I was like, "What was that song that you listened to?" And then he told me it was Crazy Bone. So I was like, "Ah, okay." And it just so happens that Crazy Bone was on, Breakdown, or Bone Thugs and Harmony was on Breakdown. Anyway, I digress. That's how I ended up figuring out my own style of music that I listened to. But I really liked Eminem because my brother. But shout out to both of them. They both living their life. They both got money. They good. Anyway, next, Lana Del Rey, Norman fucking Rockwell. This is going to be a quick section for me because I do not listen to Lana Del Rey. I'm sorry, y'all. I know there are some girlies and guys out there and humans, to be respectful of all gender identities, that rock with Lana Del Rey. And I tried to listen. I tried. And I don't know, maybe I need to try again. But I didn't get the hype. I didn't understand the hype. Like, I just feel like she has like a very monotone voice. No shade, no shade. This is no shade at all. Um, but I kind of like that song that she did for the Great Gatsby movie. Well, I don't know if I like it or if I was brainwashed into liking it because it played all the time when I was working at AMC because Great Gatsby came out, and they would have the songs playing in the theaters before the movie came on, and back when I was cleaning the theaters, I had to hear those songs. So I don't know. I might it gave me a sense of what her sound and her music style was like, but I was never really intrigued to like get into Lana Del Rey. No shade. Maybe there's probably a song that I'm sleep on that's probably amazing. But and I know she very much fits that aesthetic of like, like the Tumblr era of, aesthetical things and, that old Hollywood, but like liking the bad boy kind of vibe and doing drugs and partying and being in toxic relationships. I know that's like her thing, um or aesthetic. I don't know if that's her real life, but I know that's the vibe in the music, and I don't know if I want to listen to that. Sorry, I'm sure she's dope. If there's a song that y'all want to recommend, let me know. Like, I like her aesthetic. I think her vibe is cool, but I just I just haven't gotten into it. Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I'm pretty sure I've seen this album in my house. Um, okay, hold on. I think. Okay, this is the album with Benny and the Jets. And I think my song is on here. No, actually, it's not. Okay, the only other song by, well, there's a few songs by Elton John that's cool. It's like Teeny Dancer and some other things or whatever. Um, and Someone Saved My Life Tonight, which was sampled in Kanye West's Good Morning. Ooh. Yeah, it was sampled in there. And I remember my brother played that song a lot. And and that song by itself is amazing. I don't really know this album too well, but I do know Benny and the Jets, and that's my jam. Benny and the Jets, such a good one. Shout out to Elton John, and he just got his EGOT. So shout out to him. Like this late into his career, so I mean, hey, still out here winning awards. All right, so we got Madonna. Okay, she's another one of those people where, I mean, I know her and I know some of the songs. I know some of the Madonna songs, but I'm not a Madonna girly. You know what I mean? I didn't really grow up listening to her a lot. But there were certain songs that I like heard about later on in life. Okay, so Like a Virgin. Oh, no, no, no. No, Like a Prayer. Like a Prayer, like a prayer. So we got Like a Virgin, Like a Prayer. There's a lot going on here. Okay. Okay, so we got Like a Prayer, Express Yourself, Love Song, yada yada yada. Okay, I'm gonna be real. I don't know none of these songs like that. I know Like a Prayer and Express Yourself, and I know there was that whole controversy about Born This Way sounding like Express Yourself, and I can hear it. I think Born This Way definitely sounded like a song that I had already heard, and I could see the comparisons between her and Gaga, and like the whole a little bit of the competitive thing. But I mean, it's cool though. Um, I mean, Express Yourself is dope, and Like a Prayer was so controversial, um, but iconic at the same time. I think that's the song where she's like, it looks like she's trying to give Jesus a blowjob, which is wild to even say. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Hold on. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think I am. I feel like I'm right. Yeah, no, this is that song. This is definitely that song. Um, but I mean, like, that's Madonna. That's Madonna for you. Like, she pushes the boundaries. She does the things that nobody else is going to do. And, shout out to her for making the list. I have not listened to these albums, so shout out to her. Okay, Bad Bunny. Un Verano Sinti. I hope I said that right. I don't listen to Bad Bunny, so I'm not going to give too much of my perspective about it because I really don't have one. But I know he's a huge artist. I know like he's a big deal and everybody really enjoys Bad Bunny. So, shout out to him. All right. So, we're on our last album for this particular segment. Man, okay. There's a lot of albums on here. And the thing is like I'd be so long-winded about it because I'm a fan of music, and if it's a project that I'm familiar with, then I'll get into a bit of the nitty gritties, and then of course I go on my tangents. Like that's what I do. All right, so Missy Elliott, Super Duper Fly. Um, what's on here? Put my thing down, flip it, then reverse it. Okay. Okay, so Sock It to Me on there, The Rain. Um, They Don't Want to Fuck With Me, Pass the Blunt. Okay, I remember this song. Um, okay, okay, okay. Okay, so there's a few songs on here. I'm familiar with songs on her other projects, but I mean, classic records. The Rain is such a vibe. Um, um, and it's dope to see on here like all the people that she was collaborating with. Okay, so she had Busta Rhymes on her album. I didn't realize that. I listened to this album all the way through one time a while ago, but I hadn't um in a while. Um, and you know what? This is very interesting. Is this where that shoe reference be coming from? Asking the Truman Show producers. Um, ah, okay. Anyway, and technically, this is the wrong album if we're referencing a particular moment with a particular song, but I digress. Um, but yeah, The Rain is a vibe, super dope, classic album. I mean, I feel like all her albums are classic, and her sound is super dope. And like I was saying, like the collaborations on her are really cool. And I've always said, and I've tweeted this several times, and my tweets be, my, they be hitting sometimes because I said I would love to see Missy Elliott and Busta Rhymes do a song together, and especially like with a video, a budget, costumes, because they both had those really animated, fly, um, you know, just outlandish music videos, and just like their approach to music too. And I was like, it would be really dope to see them collaborate. And now they're on tour together. So, and that was really cool. But yeah, shout out to Missy Elliott. Okay, so that is 75. Number 75, and we just did um 25 albums. Oh my god. And mind you, and I skipped a few because I didn't know all of them. But I knew a handful of them though. Oh my goodness, this is a lot. And this was like what, 2 hours? Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna end this live stream here. I'm just gonna break this up into four different parts. So yeah. So if you enjoyed this live stream, let me know in the comments below. I'll probably like this will probably be some bit of content for my TikTok, and they can at least let me catch a break because I'll be posting like almost every day. But I try to like I'm starting to get better about like batch creating and saving some stuff for the drafts and then posting it later. So I can like give myself a rest on having to, you know, get the content, chop it down. That's the one thing about these long form ones though, because I be talking a lot. And so usually what I would have to force myself to say in like a minute or 2 minute long videos, I get to like expand upon different things for like 10 minutes. And it's like, okay, I need to not be so long winded, but I have thoughts and opinions and perspectives, especially about this music thing. So yeah, I don't know. But if y'all like my takes on these albums, if y'all got some suggestions about the albums that I skipped, if y'all like, oh, you sleeping on this song though, this album really got bops, let me know in the comments below. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can be a part and build this tribe. Okay. All right. All right, y'all. It's your girl Narice, and I will see y'all later.